Hello. Good night, everyone. This is a very late recording, live recording. I felt like if I didn't do this now, it would never get done. I've tested it. I think it's working now. If you're in the audience, just say hello. I'm not going to be here long. I'm just going to share with you these three reasons why people get stuck and stay stuck. And then give you a few tips for getting unstuck. If you've never seen me, met me in person, I'm ArleneSpeaks. I am a career consultant and a grant writer in the DFW area, Texas area. I've done EEO compliance for about 14 to 16 years. I've lost count. And so I'll tell you all things related to EEO, HR compliance, and I'll also talk about how nonprofits and early businesses can start up their businesses the right way and do things ethically and in a sound way, right? I'll also talk about grants from time to time since I am a grant writer, and sometimes post uh, some grants for free so that you can apply and cast your net out there and see if you can win some for your small business if you have a small business. But right now, this broadcast is for the people who are in jobs and they are frustrated, not sure what to do, and they feel stuck. So these are three common reasons that I've seen over the many years working with employees, their managers, and seeing all the dynamics that take place in the workspace. Um, the three common reasons that I've seen over and over and over again. The first one would be really you get mad, you get upset, and then you forget, right? You get mad, the supervisor's treating you bad, coworkers are treating you bad, um, or the nature of the job is just not what you thought it would be. It's not good anymore, but you still persist. Why? Because you forget. You forget whenever someone gives you a compliment. For about your work. You forget whenever you get a um, award. Maybe there's an employee appreciation day, and you completely forget about those feelings of um, just being tired of that same job, being tired of being there. Um, you get you forget about the bureaucracy, the red tape that you have to go through to serve the people that you all serve at your particular job. You forget about the ways in which you've been disrespected by others um, who know your work, who are supposed to respect you. I'm not talking about um, employees who know that they don't pull their weight at work. That's not what this is about, right? These are employees that know that they've done good work. And if you don't know, you should be introspective enough to know a little bit about how your peers feel about your work, um, whether they're right or wrong, your supervisor, how that person feels about your standard of work, right? And so that's who we're speaking to, people that know that they're hard workers, um, and they just get mad. They get mad all over again. It's a bad cycle, and then they forget. They get mad at the system. They get mad at they get upset with the supervisor. They get upset with the situation that they're in, and yet they just move on and forget. And then by the time you know it, you're there again. You're still there next year, dealing with some of the same things. And sometimes it gets worse in that workplace because um, you're not really logging your work because you're so busy, you forget to do that. Um, because there's so much warfare around you and people attacking you, you don't have the right mind about you to, document things, or you're tired of document things, right? Documenting things over and over again, and you don't feel like it's going to change. So those are some of the things that, I would say I hear frequently from employees over the years, whether they're super high level executives or other employees who just want to get out. They may be mid level managers, they may be, you know, not managers, specialists, they may be coordinators, people with those titles. But that's the first reason. The second reason is that you anticipate having to put in too much work for the new, whatever the new may be, new opportunity, of course, new job, new salary. You may have to learn new technology with the new job. And you're thinking to yourself, this is going to be a lot more work than I thought. Um, and the risks really outweigh uh, the pain you feel right now. So the risks for, putting in the work, possibly somebody finding out that you're applying, you know, um, all the maybe small risks, maybe big risks that come with putting those first steps forward, they really just outweigh the pain you feel in staying there, in staying at that job that gives you knots in your stomach when you wake up and on a Monday morning and you sit at the side of the bed and say, wow, um, I really hate this job and I need to get out of here, right? Um, I call it a case of the Mondays. I think a lot of people have experienced this. So we know what that means when Monday morning comes and you don't feel well. You have not seen your son. You don't want to go to work again after the weekend. And it's just as much mental as it is physical. Your body is really um, developing an aversion to the job. That's what we're talking about, and we'll talk about some of those mental health things and physical health things um, later on in other videos. But what I will tell you with that is that um, in anticipating these all these things that it will take to that you'll have to do, putting in resumes sometimes while you're at work, sometimes some of you may not even have time to put in resumes at work. So there's even more risk with it, because if you don't put the time in to write the cover letter, to write the resume, or update the resume, which some of you may need to do, then by the time you get around to it, the job may be closed or about to close. And then it's a bad cycle. Then you have to start all over again. You're looking for other ones. Maybe you were really psyched out about this one, but because you let so much time pass and you weren't diligent on it, because you're saying to yourself, well, I have to do so much for this job right now. So I have to focus. I can't apply for these other opportunities if I'm still here. Then it's a bad cycle, right? Then that means you're going to stay stuck because you may need to update your resume. Okay. And if you're very introspective, you will continue updating your resume. There are people, though, that will have a lot of career coach friends and not, you know, either take the advice of, the free advice of some of them, or pay one of them to help them, right? And I understand that applying to jobs and everything, just being able to um, maybe over the years get your own jobs, land your own jobs without any help, that can be a prideful thing because you're like, well, I've been able to do it all this time. What's changed? Well, the market has changed. You may be older now. So the type of resumes you used to do in the past don't really fly anymore because of ATS systems, or even many companies are still not using ATS systems. But if your resume is really not standing out at all, or not highlighting all of your skills, putting your best foot forward, then they will still skip over it. Then there's the factor of other people being on their grind, networking, and you may not be doing that, right? So that also keeps you stuck, because if you're not willing to do what some people may call the extras, then you will be left in the dust, right? So you may be anticipating too much work to putting in too much work for this new opportunity, letting all the day-to-day work that you have to do at your job interrupt your need to apply to other jobs, right? Other opportunities. And so for many of you, it's not just a job, it's a career, right? So you really have to take your next steps seriously and have to be mindful of, you know, what is the best move for me, right? Some people do a lateral move. I would only suggest that if you're going to make 15,000 more on a lateral move, at least 15,000 more, because that will account for taxes and so on and so forth, whether it's in New York or anywhere else. So that's, kind of the number that I came up with over the years, um, doing compensation analysis and so on and so forth. I just see that 15,000 can make the difference, right? Of whether you go or not. If they're only paying you 3,000 more, 4,000 more to go to another job and it's lateral, I wouldn't do it, right? I wouldn't do it. And I would still say don't do it, or I would say be cautious about doing that lateral move if it's um that next move, if it's a bigger title but similar pay. Similar pay is 5,000 more, 3,000 more. That's like a raise, that you could stay at a certain place and usually get that as a raise. And I know some companies are not giving raises like that, or large nonprofits. But others do. They might give 3%, 4% raise, 5%, up to 5%. So that really is something that you have to weigh and think, do I want to do something like that? Do I just want to hang out and wait and wait and wait till I get that raise? Or is it automatic every year? Do you get an automatic 2%? Do you get an automatic 3% raise every year? If so, that's about equivalent to leaving a job for another job that's similar, or maybe it's higher in title, but it has similar pay. So that wouldn't be too smart of a strategy, right? That's not too good of a strategy. Unless you are a person who is desperate. People who are desperate will do things like that. But I never advise people leave jobs out of desperation, because it puts you in a different position in the interviews. It puts you in a different mindset. It also, I don't know, it holds you back from negotiating the way you really should negotiate with your potential employer. Okay. So there's that. So anticipating the work might be too hard. That was the second one. And finally, the third is that you simply don't believe in yourself anymore, right? Maybe you have a job that gaslights you, tells you, you're not doing a good job. And, one day, 1 month, I will say that they're saying great things about you. They're saying you're doing well and what have you. And then the next month, they're using something really minor to write you up, or say that you're not on the right track. You're not doing a good job for them, right? So you've been beaten down, even though that you may know in your heart of hearts, um, I'm doing the best job I can. I am doing a good job, and maybe outside coworkers, people outside of your office, outside of your department, they see you as a nice person. Maybe they know your work. Maybe they don't. Maybe they honor your work, admire your work, and maybe if they can speak to your work, then they might be good references, right? But all in all, you get dejected over time if you don't have those people as pick me uppers, right? If you don't have those people encouraging you, um, then all you see is the things that your supervisor may say, and they may or may not be biased, right? You have to do some self checking and say, am I doing my best? Why are they targeting me? If they're targeting me, why is that? How can I make it stop, right? And there's different strategies that can be used. Workplace strategy. I do have a workplace strategy session, um, and that is I'm playing with the views, um, and that is on my Set More link. You'll see my Set More link in the chat or in the description below. Make sure to visit it. If you need any help with figuring out a workplace issue, again, I'm not a lawyer. I do EEO compliance specifically. So I've dealt with all kinds of workplace situations, hostile environments, and, all kinds of DEI issues, um, bullying issues. I've seen them play out over the years. And I've seen it all. I've handled it all. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so if you need legal advice, then you may want to see a lawyer. Other than that, I can give you other advice on the workplace, as I am a career consultant. And I want you to know that there is a way out, that you can move on. Sometimes with the third one, and where you don't believe in yourself anymore, you start saying, okay, what if this job wants this and I don't have it? So if you don't have 100%, you don't apply. If you don't have 100% of the skills, 100% of the experience, you don't apply at all. The thing might have listed preferred, and you still will say to yourself, I don't have that preferred qualification, so I'm not going to apply. That is a silly reason not to apply, because you don't know what the pool is looking like. You don't know what the other candidates have under their belt. Maybe they don't have that preferred skill either, or maybe they have it but they have less years of experience. So you're not even giving the hiring manager opportunity to see, how you match up to them when you don't apply. When you take that one issue or instance, if you call it an issue, and say, well, I can't apply because I don't have this particular thing. And actually, research has shown us over the years that men will apply whether or not they have the skills or qualifications, whereas women, um, unless they have 100% of the job, they've done it before, maybe verbatim, they have all the skills listed in the job in the job posting, then they don't apply, right? Research has shown us that, has demonstrated that. It is 11:11 right now. And so I'm going to close this out by giving you some short tips. But again, remember, if you need some strategy sessions, then you can contact me at ArleneSpeaks.com. It's on all the websites, the Setmore website, and it's also on ArleneSpeaks.com, how to contact me. Um, and, we can do a workplace strategy session. Um, some people may not be ready for change yet. Contact me if you're ready for change, though. You're completely ready for change and you're at your end, right? And you want to revamp your career and you're taking it seriously this time around, right? You're ready to go. You're ready to, you know, put the strategies in place and really make a run for it. Okay? Make a run for it. It is a season where you are supposed to be feeling free. It's a month of IR. It's a Hebrew month of light and revelation, being May. Um, you're supposed to be able to look and see that opportunity coming forth. And I just believe it for so many people that it's a time of transition. And if we don't push ourselves to get up and go, right? So I had to push myself to do this video. It's been months coming, a long time coming, where I'm supposed to do my first live video. And here I am doing it after 10 at night and now after 11, right? But I had to push myself to get it done because I had a lot of phone calls before this. And so things will come up. Um, and, you know, if you don't have a firm goal, then you will always let other things come before the main thing you need to be doing, right? And so I say all that to say you have to prioritize applying to jobs. And if you're saying, I'm applying to jobs, I'm not getting interviews, then something's wrong with the resume. Or you are not strategizing properly, you're not targeting the right jobs, okay? If you're getting interviews, that means your resume is working for you, but then you don't get the job, there's something else going on. Sometimes it's them, but sometimes it's something you're doing on the interview. And without knowing exactly what you're doing on the interview, by doing a mock interview with you myself, I can't really tell you what it is, right? You'll just be kind of guessing forever. It could have been this, it could have been that. And that happens, right? Sometimes you just don't know. But I can tell you, I know a lot of people feel like I did the best I could on that interview. Or they feel like truly in their hearts like it was going well. But really, when you look back at it and you think about, and this is why we cover body language, all of it, the way you dress, the way you speak, all of it in my mock sessions. It's the best thing that you would ever pay for. Just because I include all of it since I was also a compliance investigator, um, and had to study body language, so I learned that, right? So I incorporate all those things to help you um, get your next job, land your next position in your career. So, and make the max amount of money that you can make, or, the most you can make right now coming from the other position, right? I want to always help you to aim higher and higher and higher. So I never tell people to, aim low. It's always 15,000 or more, sometimes 18. Sometimes people, I give them a certain threshold when we're doing compensation analysis. I tell them this is what you should ask for. And they're like, what? And, their eyes will brighten like, what do you mean? I can't ask for that much. Yes, you can, because I've done the analysis. This is what your skills are worth in the market, right? So that's what I do with the career consultation package. Um, and, I try to kind of help my clients get outside of the box, right? So that should be your next step. Really stepping back and analyzing, am I getting interviews? Okay, yes, I'm getting interviews, but I don't get the job. So I'm still stuck, right? If that's the case, then there's something going on at the interview. There's something going on at interview level. And how many interviews are you doing a year? If you're doing 3 a year, 4 a year, how many jobs are you really applying to? Maybe you're applying to jobs that are the exact same job that you have. And many times, you know, employees cannot, because they've been in the same job all the time for many years, particularly if that's the case with them, it is hard for them to think outside of the box. Like, what else can I do with my skills? What else can I do with sometimes there's even a work from home job now that matches up with their skills. right? But notice I'm not saying matches up with the exact job. It may not match up with the exact job. So maybe they're applying to things that, you know, they're just kind of the same run of the mill type of job, and they may be looking for, the employer may be looking for someone with the exact job as well, but who they can pay less because you're seasoned and you've been doing that exact same thing, and you're applying to the jobs that are the exact same thing, and they may or may not want to pay you. It really depends on everybody's situation. Everyone's situation is different. So without meeting with you for a consultation, I really can't tell you what your situation is, and I would really need to see you interview to know that. I don't try to give feedback willy nilly, like some people may want. And I don't do resume reviews. I actually just do the resume over and do a career consultation with you, because I know 9 times out of 10, after I review that resume, I'm going to say, it needs this change, this change, this change, that change, that. And it's going to be too much for you. It's going to be overwhelming. So, because I have the service of providing you a whole career consultation package with consultation sessions, those strategies to go along with a new executive level resume, there's no reason for me to do resume reviews per se, right? But you can schedule a free consultation with me to get started and get unstuck as soon as possible, especially for this year of double and triple grace, right? 2025. And also, I would say some other practical tips on um, getting unstuck or taking the first steps, right? To move away from these three reasons, top reasons why, is, you know, writing down, journaling, maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes per day, and just write down how you feel about the job and why you want a new job. A lot of people wouldn't journal about that, right? Because they just want to put it out of their mind. But like I said, for number three, you don't believe in yourself anymore. That is going to help you believe in yourself, right? Um, Talking about the job that you want with other people, the kind of job that you want, people can help create a job for you. You never know. Your coworkers in another department may be looking for someone exactly like you. Journaling about it also speaks to whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes per day. It doesn't need to be a lot. Um, but journaling also speaks to the first reason, which was that I mentioned, which was when you get mad and then you forget, and it comes in cycles. So you get mad at them, they do something negative, then you know, it takes a while, and then they do something positive another month, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm staying for a while more, right? And if they're not pushing you out, you're just coasting. You're just comfortable. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm actually going to come on live definitely earlier in the day. This will not be a regular time for me, but I just needed to push myself and get this live out, right? And so I hope this helps somebody on the replay. And remember, contact me if you need help. All of my contact websites are in the description below. And also, you know, I want to say that not only journaling, but doing a prophetic act of, and some of you will know what that means, some people won't. I don't really have a lot of time to go into it right now at 11:21, but doing an act of um, that speaks to your soul and says, I'm exiting. I will be leaving. I am leaving, is extremely helpful. I've done it before. Write out that resignation letter as a prophetic act. Look into the other benefits that you would want. Do you want the same exact benefits? Look at only jobs that would provide those same exact benefits. All of those are prophetic actions that you can take to say to your mind and your soul, I'm leaving. I'm leaving, right? What do people do when they leave? They start packing up their stuff. Okay? They start having, I know I did that all the time. If I knew I was about to leave and I said, "Oh no, this is the last straw. This is the last straw. This y'all have messed up too many times." I start one by one, little by little, taking things out of the office, personal effects out of the office, pictures down, drawings down, because I always work with students and they liked me, students organizations, did activities with them and so on and so forth, uh, before I was in EEO compliance. And they would give me things, right? And I just started taking them down and taking them home. And I did this like clockwork every time it was time for me to leave a job. Um, those are great prophetic actions because it's telling your body and your mind it's time to leave. We have to do something. It's like when you're ready to lose weight, you stock your fridge. You start emptying everything in your fridge. And trust me, I've been through it 1,000 times, and you keep doing it until you get it right. You know what I mean? Until you get out of it, you just keep doing that. Keep doing those actions, right? But if you need help, you hire help, right? Um, so you may empty your drawers. You may, you're not going to give the keys back yet or whatever, but you empty those desks. And you start really treating it like work and not a second place to live, right? Where you have all this stuff with you in your office. And that is going to help you change your mind and be ready to go. Because remember that one of the three that I gave you was you get mad and you forget. It's a bad cycle. You forget when they give you, some kind of award for something, or they give you a compliment, they say something nice to you, but you don't see all the negative things that's taking place behind the scenes when people are tearing down your reputation single-handedly. And we'll talk about that later this week or tomorrow. I'm going to get, as I do these more every day or every other day, I'll get in the hang of which days are best. And then I can give you a regular date and time that I'll be coming on with this information. And subscribe if you're coming across this channel late night and you're thinking about changing things in your career life. Definitely subscribe, make a comment below. If you have any questions about moving forward in your career, general questions, of course, or you have questions about the three that I mentioned, you get mad and then you forget, and that's a cycle. 2, that was 1. 2 is you anticipate having to put in too much work for the new, right? The risks, in other words, the risks outweigh the pain you feel right now. When the pain outweighs, the risk that it takes to apply to another job, go to the interviews, take time off from your job to do that, maybe be behind on your job so that you can go to interviews and interact with them and learn all the things about the position that is going to help you with the interviews, right? It takes time to do all of that. It takes time to cultivate that. So as soon as, you start anticipating having to put in too much work for the new career, the new position, then it kind of puts you on the wrong road, right? Where you're just saying nothing's going to change. I don't have time for this. I'm never going to have time for that. You start telling yourself something, and your soul is getting a message that we're not going to leave. We don't want to leave. This is comfortable, right? I don't have to do too much to change the situation right now. And the changing, even the things that I would have to do, feels very stressful, right? If it brings you stress to, get up a little bit earlier before work and apply to jobs, or late at night, because here's the thing, in a bad job, all it does is beat you down over and over and over again, to the point where you don't want to do much else when you come home. You barely have time for your children, your husband, or your wife. If men are watching this, you don't have time to really get into it. You don't have time to really. All you do is look. You're just looking. You're not actually applying, right? So you got to get around to the point where you say, okay, I'm going to do these three. I'm going to focus on these three goals for this month, right? And each week you do something towards those goals. That's another way that you can get unstuck, right? Making sure that anything you do around extracurricular activities when you come home is a money making thing that will push you towards your new career, right? So I'm going to do maybe salary analysis, maybe after you come home from work, you start looking at the different jobs that you will be able to do and the titles and the salaries for those different jobs, right? On glassdoor.com, you may look at salary.com, you may look at indeed.com, right, for comparisons of those salaries. And it still is individualistic kind of analysis because it's supposed to commensurate with experience, but also it has to do with you being well liked many times by your supervisor. We'll talk about negotiation strategies and so on when it comes to salary. But so some of the tips I gave you, just to recap, is journaling, doing prophetic acts that you're leaving to tell your mind and your soul that you're leaving, right? Clearing out the desk, clearing out the desk, writing a resignation letter, um, you know, um, staying to yourself a little bit more. Maybe if you walk around and talk to everybody in the hallways, stop doing that. If you're on 10,000 committees, if you're in higher education or any education or nonprofit, they love committees. So if you're in 10,000 committees, start withdrawing your service from them bit by bit. Whatever you can get off your plate, get it off your plate so you can get to applying to jobs and networking, right? Which is the thing you really need. You need both. You need all of it. You need to network and you do need to apply to job, of course. But you may need to put in some time with a career coach, such as myself, and get some strategy sessions in there, and then really apply it so that it works. Nothing is going to work if you don't apply it, right? So those are some of the quick strategies to get unstuck, right? And those were the 3 ways that I mentioned and outlined for you in this video, that people stay stuck, okay? And so don't fall for it. Don't fall for, them being nice to you again during a different time, but then getting mad at you again in another cycle. Don't keep falling for it. And anticipate the benefits from putting the work into finding a new position, right? Where I say number 2, you anticipate having to put in too much work for the new, and the risks that you would receive actually outweigh the pain you feel right now in your situation, right? Which is always, unfortunate, something to grapple with. You have to make time to transition. You got to make time to transition. It's just like moving from one house to another, from one apartment to another. People usually allot some time to move. Some people need 2 weeks. Some people need 3 weeks to pack up and get all their stuff out and arrange for this and arrange for that. The movers, depending on how far you're moving. Even if you're moving right next door, most people take a week off from work and do that. So if you have time off, just kind of laying around, and you're not going to the islands this year because it's so busy, and you all have maybe audits, and there's important seasons in every type of industry. I know my friend is in the finance industry, and she's a VP pretty high up, And there's just certain cyclical seasons where they're going to be run ragged, right? And there's just going to be a lot to do and very little time. So, you know, a person in those kind of situations have to be even more deliberate about planning out his or her time to, put in the work to get the new opportunity. Okay. And finally, believing in yourself, one of those reasons that people get stuck and stay stuck, which is not believing in yourself. Believing in yourself is very important because it also is tied to confidence. It gives you confidence. And, you don't want to interview from a position of desperation or low self-esteem, because they'll also pick up on that, they'll feel it, and lowball you in the numbers, right, where it matters. Bonuses, salary. You won't be the person negotiating stock options, right? Even if it's available to you to negotiate, you're not going to be that person, because you're coming with the energy that says, I really, 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 really need this job. And so that energy puts out a different statement. Okay. But all of this is like a cycle. When the person doesn't believe in themselves, they can't really push themselves out there to do the thing that they were called to do, right? For some people, they have to transition to get into their calling. They have to transition to another position to get into their calling that they know of. And some people don't know of a purpose, a higher purpose that God has called them to. So I am going to end the video here. It was so great speaking to you all. I hope that you all comment on the replay. For those of you that will watch it tomorrow on the replay, you'll comment, you'll ask questions, you'll talk about concerns, and you can always email me privately, Arlene at ArleneSpeaks.com. And that's ARLENE at ArleneSpeaks.com. And surely, you can do it. You can get out of this situation. And sometimes you just need help. So rather than speaking to your friends over and over again, who are not going to always tell you what's, what you can make and your potential earnings will be, they can't always tell you all of that. They can guess, they can, but again, your friends will usually not see you doing as much, especially if it surpasses them. And I've seen this over and over again while outward. You know, it is much better to prepare yourself when you're, leaving a place, when you're getting ready to leave a place. Prepare your mind, your heart, and your spirit, right? Anyway, I digress. So, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to keep this video short to the 44 minutes. And I will post another video tomorrow. That video will likely be about 5 signs or 5 ways to know your supervisor is pushing you out or trying to push you out, right? And I believe some people know the signs and some people don't. Some people hang there really, really long and don't know the signs. So I am going to come on again tomorrow, much, much earlier than this. Okay, so no worries about that. This was just the first live, and this is just how we're doing it so that I can get this video out, right? And some other videos may be just posting edited videos without being live. I'll see how it goes, but I'm definitely going to come on tomorrow and talk about what I just mentioned. Okay. So I love you all. Be well. And I would say, I pray the Lord blesses you, keeps you and makes his face to shine upon you and give you peace, and make all your dreams come true this month. Okay, be blessed, everyone. It's Arlene Speaks. Good night.